I never really thought much about breakfast. But turns out, what you eat, or even when you eat it, can set the tone for your weight all day long. Like, it's not just about calories, but your body's whole rhythm.
It blew my mind when I learned the word breakfast literally means breaking your fast from sleeping. And apparently, after about 4 hours post-dinner, your body runs out of the food-based energy and actually starts burning stored glycogen instead.
Yeah, and here's the kicker. Once that glycogen gets used up, something like 8 to 12 hours later, your body finally starts dipping into fat for energy. So if you're skipping late-night snacks, you're inching closer to burning actual fat by morning.
That's the part I find so motivating. When your body hits that fat-burning mode, it starts making these things called ketone bodies through ketogenesis. It's like flipping a switch from storing fat to using it as fuel, which is kind of wild.
Exactly, and then breakfast comes along and resets everything. But I heard there's a way to keep the fat burning going, even after you eat. That had me curious. How do you even do that?
So, this is where the idea of caloric bypass gets really interesting. Dr. Gundry, a heart surgeon, figured out if you start your day with something called MCT's medium-chain triglycerides, you can actually keep that fat-burning switch flipped on.
Wait. So instead of eating, say, toast or a banana, you'd have foods with these MCTs first thing? What foods are we even talking about here?
Coconut oil is the big one, but there's also MCT oil you can add to coffee or smoothies. Some dairy products have a bit, but coconut's kind of the star. The idea is your body processes these fats differently, so you keep burning fat for energy instead of instantly switching back to carbs.
I actually tried putting a spoon of coconut oil in my coffee once. Wasn't as weird as I thought. But what really got my attention was Dr. Gundry himself, losing 70 pounds just by changing the way he started his day. And he did it in his 60 seconds. That's pretty wild.
Seriously, I love that it's not just a fad, but based on how our bodies naturally use fuel. Makes you wonder what else we're doing out of habit that might be holding us back. Speaking of habits, the way we look at something as simple as fruit might even change after learning more.
I couldn't help but notice people always talk about saving for retirement, but I'm starting to think the biggest risk isn't what we expect. It's not just running out of money, is it?
It really isn't. The game has changed so much because we're all living longer now. A few decades back, retiring at 65 meant your savings had to last, maybe 15 or 20 years? These days, it's not unusual for someone to need their retirement money to stretch 30 or even 40 years.
That's wild when you put it that way. Suddenly, those standard accounts like IRAs or 401ks might not be enough. If your nest egg was built for a shorter retirement, you could end up in a tough spot.
Totally. I've seen people who retired early thinking they were set, and then 10 years down the line, they're scrambling to pivot their finances. Longevity is a blessing, but it definitely makes the math way more complicated.
Funny you mention that, because lately I keep hearing about different ways to safeguard your savings, especially if you've already built up a good chunk. It's not just about stashing more cash anymore. It's about making smarter decisions with what you have. So, for someone who's got, say, over $100,000 in their retirement account, what should they even be looking out for? Is there a move that really makes a difference?
What's interesting here is that diversification becomes even more important. For example, some folks look at alternative assets like precious metals because they can act as a safety net if the market takes a dip. I know Augusta Precious Metals has been popping up a lot lately for that reason.
Yeah, I've seen their name come up too. They even offer that quick report, supposedly just 2 minutes to read, that lays out a simple step anyone can take to boost their financial security. It's so tempting to just text SAFE to 35052 and see what the fuss is about.
If nothing else, getting that kind of info can open your eyes to what you might be missing. After all, thinking ahead now could mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and some tough choices later.
Exactly, nobody wants surprises down the road. It comes down to being proactive and not just hoping your old plan will hold up as life throws you curveballs. Kicking things off, have you ever faced a monster in a video game that left you both frustrated and kind of in awe? I'm talking about the Plesioth from Monster Hunter, the so-called hitboxing king or queen of the ocean and land. It's got a pretty wild reputation.
Oh, Plesioth. The moment you said hitboxing king, I knew exactly who you meant. That monster is infamous people joke that its attacks land even when you're standing what feels like miles away. But honestly, its design is so cool, like this prehistoric fish mixed with a dragon.
Totally. The long, sleek body and those massive fins. Plesioth looks like it could have swum straight out of a dinosaur documentary. But it's those unpredictable hitboxes that really left an impression on players, right?
Absolutely. And it's funny because the hitbox thing became almost a rite of passage. You're not truly a Monster Hunter veteran until you've been tail-slapped by Plesioth from across the map. But there's something about overcoming that challenge that keeps folks coming back, don't you think?
Speaking of challenges, what is it about Plesioth that sets it apart from other monsters in the series? The ocean and land thing is a start, but there's gotta be more.
For sure. Unlike most monsters that stick to either land or air, Plesioth actually swims around and then flops up onto the shore to fight you. It's like battling a giant fish that refuses to stay in its own lane, which means you're constantly adjusting your tactics.
That always tripped me up. 1 second you're chasing it underwater, the next it's lunging onto land and sending shockwaves everywhere. The unpredictability keeps you guessing. Did you ever find a strategy that worked reliably?
Honestly, patience was my best friend. You had to wait for just the right moment, especially when it wiggles its hips before attacking. Dodging early usually meant eating a hit. It's almost like Plesioth was designed to make you unlearn your old habits.
What cracks me up is how the Plesioth's hitboxes became a whole meme in the Monster Hunter community. I remember seeing fan art and even songs about its impossible reach.
It's amazing what people come up with when a monster frustrates them. I actually saw a comic where Plesioth's tail curved around corners just to smack hunters. There's a sort of camaraderie in everyone's shared suffering.
No kidding. There's something oddly bonding about all those wild stories like, hey, you two, you also got KO'd while clearly out of range? It makes the eventual victory that much sweeter.
For sure, and it speaks to how games like Monster Hunter build community through, well, pain and humor. The best tales always come from those over-the-top moments, and Plesioth is practically the mascot for them.
Thinking about the big picture, do you think Plesioth has earned its spot as a Monster Hunter icon? Or is it more of a love-to-hate situation?
I'd say it's both. Plesioth might not be as flashy as a Rathalos, but its legacy is all about those unforgettable encounters. There's even nostalgia for the chaos it brought, like a badge of honor among longtime players.
That's a good point. Even when newer games tweak or sideline the old mechanics, people still remember Plesioth for what it was, a uniquely frustrating, memorable experience. There's a certain charm in that, weirdly.
Exactly. It's not every monster that leaves a mark both for its looks and its quirks. Plesioth definitely earned its royal title in the ocean and on land, even if it made us all shout at our screens a little.
That actually makes me wonder, if Plesioth disappeared from the series, would Monster Hunter lose some of its soul, or would players be relieved?
Hard to say. On one hand, new players might appreciate not dealing with those infamous hitboxes, but for long-timers, I think the series would lose a bit of its flavor. After all, those infamous moments give us stories to tell.
Yeah, without Plesioth, there'd be a lot fewer tales of impossible dodges and unexpected defeats. Sometimes the monsters we dread most are the ones that make the game unforgettable.
And maybe that's the secret sauce: frustration, laughter, and triumph all mixed together. Plesioth proves that even a digital fish with a questionable hitbox can become legendary. Wouldn't have it any other way.
So, I was reading about fossils the other day, and I kept wondering, how do these ancient remains end up getting buried so deep into the ground in the first place? It's kind of wild to imagine a creature just lying there and then, millions of years later, we dig it up.
It really is fascinating. Basically, when an animal or plant dies, it usually gets buried pretty quickly by things like mud, sand, or even volcanic ash. That quick burial is key to keeping it safe from things like scavengers or weather. Without that, the remains would just disappear.
Ah, so it's less about the ground swallowing them up, and more about layers just building over them over time. I guess that explains why so many fossils are found in places that used to be lakes or swamps.
Exactly, those environments are perfect for burying stuff fast. Floods, landslides, or even a pileup of dead plants can do the trick. Once that first layer is on, nature does the rest, piling more and more material on top as centuries pass.
That actually brings up another thing I've always wondered. What happens after something's buried? How does it go from being, say, a bone to something rock hard we call a fossil?
What surprises most people is it's not the bone itself that lasts. Over time, minerals from the surrounding mud or water gradually seep in and replace all the organic material. It's like the bone is swapped out for stone bit by bit, but keeping the exact shape.
So it's like nature is doing a slow-motion sculpture, only using minerals instead of clay. That's pretty amazing. I imagine this process must take a really long time, right?
You're spot on. It can take thousands or even millions of years. The conditions have to stay just right. Not too much pressure, not too much heat, and definitely no disturbances. Otherwise, the fossil doesn't form.
Now I'm thinking, not every animal or plant gets to become a fossil, do they? There must be so many ancient creatures that just disappeared without a trace.
That's true. Most things never fossilize at all. Creatures with hard parts, like bones or shells, have a better shot. Soft-bodied animals, like jellyfish, usually don't stand a chance because they decompose too quickly.
Makes sense. I guess that's why we're always uncovering fossils of dinosaurs or trilobites, but very rarely of, say, ancient worms. The odds are seriously stacked against them.
Totally. And even when the conditions are right, things like erosion or earthquakes can destroy fossils before anyone ever finds them. It's kind of amazing we have as many as we do.
That reminds me of those incredible fossil discoveries you see in documentaries, where teams are brushing away dirt from a perfectly preserved bone. Finding something that survived for millions of years must feel like winning the lottery.
I bet it's an incredible rush. Paleontologists spend weeks, sometimes months, slowly chipping away at rock to reveal just a fragment. And sometimes they stumble on entire skeletons by chance, like after a storm exposes new layers.
It almost sounds like detective work, piecing together clues from the past. There are probably times when they think they found something big, only for it to turn out to be just a rock.
Oh, definitely. They even have a term for that, pseudo-fossils. These are rocks or mineral patterns that look like fossils but aren't. It just shows how tricky and exciting the hunt can be.
After all that effort, the big question is, what do fossils actually tell us? Why go through so much trouble just to find these stone remains?
Fossils are like time capsules. They can reveal what animals and plants lived long ago, what the climate was like, even how continents moved. For instance, finding tropical plant fossils in Antarctica tells us that region was once warm.
That's incredible. It's as if we're slowly piecing together a giant puzzle of Earth's history, one fossil at a time. Makes you appreciate just how much is buried under our feet.
Exactly. Each discovery fills in a blank about where we came from and helps us understand how life and the planet have changed. Who knows what we'll dig up next?